I'm working at a big four, whatever you want to call it, tech company. I'm going to be moving out to Seattle, the four being Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon. You're too public.
Okay, I'll put all four in the thumbnail so they don't know.
No one will know. They don't need to know that much about my life.
What's up everyone, it is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. And so today we have a super special guest star who is also named Rachel. We're like twins, pretty much. Because I am not really a woman in STEM, we're going to be talking to Rachel today to hear about what being a woman in STEM is like in college. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Rachel. I'm a recent graduate, class of December 2019 at the University of Maryland with a major in computer science and a minor in women's studies. So, I get to know a lot about different topics being a woman in STEM, kind of both from like the feminism, women's studies perspective, and also like being in the field with like all the men and everything.
So I guess we'll just jump right into it. We're going to be asking Rachel some questions today to hear about her college experience, perspectives, and her post-grad experience. So let's get started. How did you get into computer science?
Oh man, so I got into computer science in my sophomore year of high school because our high school...
We were in the same class.
So our high school had a technology requirement that you had to fulfill, and you could either do Project Lead the Way, which is like a multi-year like engineering thing. So that's like a no, because I didn't think I'd like engineering. And then you could either do this like tech ed class that was more like wood shop, and then you could do like introduction to computer science. And I always tell people like my thought process was like, I can't lose a finger at age like 15. So I was like, I have to take computer science. We started doing like Alice and Drew and Lego Robotics, which is like, I was like, oh yeah, this is like kind of cool. I thought it was like pretty interesting, but like the only reason I like really kept continuing in computer science, I had a free space my next semester, and I was like, this is cool enough that I'll just like take the next level of computer science, and that was our introduction to Java. And that's when I like really started getting interested, and I like really fell in love with all the parts of computer science that are identifying a problem, like persevering through like different ways of like finding a solution, like debugging code. And so I was originally going to go into like English and theater education in college, and I just like completely like 180'd.
I feel like I remember I took the same computer science intro course because it was an honors course, so it'd be a higher GPA than if we took the tech ed course.
Really? I didn't know that. I like literally my only thought process was like, I can't lose a finger. I can't lose a finger.
Can you explain your typical college class?
It kind of changes because at least at UMD, the way that you kind of go through the progression in the computer science major is you have some like core foundational classes, and then after that you have like the 400s, which is where you get to like dive into specialized topics that you might find more interesting, like human-computer interaction, like operating systems. For like UMD CS, you start by learning Java, and then you end up like adding on with things like discrete math, you learn C, and for that it's going to be like much larger lecture halls. It'll be supplemented with like discussions with a TA, and that might be where you like do practice problems or go over concepts or have like quizzes and like other graded work. I'd say like almost half of my friends that I have at Maryland I met in my freshman and sophomore year, like in the same discussion sections, studying for like tests together.
With the beginner classes, do you feel like there's a lot of weeder courses?
Yes. Oh, and UMD really annoys me because one of our biggest weed out classes you don't take, it's either your first or second semester of like sophomore year, depending on like where you are in the track, and it's like you shouldn't have to like be weeded out and have to change your major like once you've finished 2 years of college. The very first class isn't like always necessarily beginner friendly. Like it's much easier to complete the major if you've already done like computer science in high school. Like in high school, I ended up completing AP Computer Science A, which is like the first AP Computer Science exam, and it's like all about Java. And like so then I was able to skip the very introductory course at Maryland and go like into like some of their secondary courses. And I had friends who had done computer science in high school but not gotten to like test out of it. I knew some people that like were going in having never taken CS. A lot of the people I know that like hadn't taken CS before, the introductory course was like super challenging for them, but it's also like the point where they realized that they really did want to do computer science for like their career. Doing stuff before college, if you can, like, is a really big leg up.
Yeah, I feel like we also have weeder courses. It's like similar, very large class sizes and make it super difficult at the beginning.
Yeah.
And like similar, like you were saying, there's also a GPA cap at Berkeley where you need to have a 3.3 in like the prerequisites for the CS courses to even declare the major. And that's like a B+ average, which I feel like is sort of difficult. So if you don't have that, then you can't declare the major.
So as you then get to the upper level courses, so that's like what I mentioned before with like operating systems, like human computer interaction, your class sizes for most courses contract a lot.
With your classes, do you feel like there's a large male to female gender disparity?
So I was talking to people about this where there is, and it like you can see within certain specializations it like getting worse. So first off, you know how I said I gotta skip one of the introductory courses because I was like then in kind of like a slightly accelerated track where I was technically a semester ahead of like my peers that started at the same time. There was less women in my classes than the people who started freshman year in the very first introductory level courses. And so you kind of already see like that gap. Like I feel like UMD in general is probably around like, I think we're now at 20% women as far as like gender parity. Classes like my data science class would probably be like 20% women, if not more. Like my human computer interaction course, which is like considered like a somewhat more like feminine part of computer science because that's where you'd be doing like user studies and you might have to like talk to people more, and that was like probably like 50% women. And then I was in like an operating systems class where you have to really understand like assembly and like lower level computer constructs, and I think that was 5% women. It was like 6 women in like a 60-person lecture hall. Yeah.
Do you feel like in your classes you are judged based on your gender?
I feel like yes, and I feel like it's just like a very like weird experience. A lot of my friends ended up being guys. I could like joke around with them and like they were always like really supportive of me. Other times there was people that like made assumptions about me because I was a woman. Like I would have guys in my like discussion sections where like everyone kind of will be like, oh, did you start this project? Like how far along are you? Normally it's like a group discussion and everyone would chime in, but there would be some times when guys would like check in with me specifically like, oh, Rachel, like do you understand this concept? How far are you? Like, do you think you're going to be able to finish in time? Like, let me know if you need help. And I'm like, I don't need help. I'm further along in this project than you are. I don't know. I also had like really awkward experiences where guys would ask me to study with them. And I was like, oh, this is like a professional relationship where we'd like just study, and it'd literally be us talking about the course and the course content the whole time. And then after the exam, they'd be like, so when are we gonna go on a date? And I'm like, what? And they're like, what did you think my intentions was when I asked to study with you? And I was like, I thought your intentions were to study. I don't know. I feel like you get a lot of like weird behaviors like that. I know like one of my friends, she had, you know, I said that one guy in my class would always like check on me specifically. She had a TA who would do that, which is an even like worse situation to be in because then it's like a weird like power dynamic. You almost like constantly have to like prove yourself.
Do you want to shed some light on your internship experience, what it's like to apply, all of that jazz?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm really lucky where I've actually had 3 internships. So one after freshman, one after sophomore, and one after junior. But sometimes it's like really difficult to get the first one like after freshman year. Freshman year when I was applying, I went to the University of Maryland Career Fair, which was huge and intimidating and terrifying. Here I was breaking out my like business professional outfit for the first time, like having to just like schmooze with people and like give out your resume, and it just gets put in a pile, and later you realize that no one actually looks at the pile and they just tell you to apply online. And I like honestly struggled a lot to like get opportunities, especially if you're younger. You got to be prepared for no's or just no responses at all. Like it's definitely like a numbers game, I feel like, when you're younger or less experienced, where it's kind of just like really putting out applications. You know, like some people I know like applied to 70 companies to hear back from like too. But like I personally didn't apply to any of the ones, like certain big companies have like freshman specific programs, and I'd also like recommend you like apply to those because I never did, but I heard they were like really good experiences. I know this is like really cliche, but like honestly for the technical interviews you have to practice like cracking the coding interview and leak code. I did more leak code because a lot of companies now know the questions that are in cracking the coding interview, so they won't really like give those questions to you, but it's definitely good if you're just like beginning to like learn about the technical interview to like read or do problems from cracking the coding interview. I'd say one thing I also wish I knew earlier was that it's like okay to make use of your network. When I was younger, asking people to give me like a referral or asking people to like, you know, like put my name in for something felt like nepotism almost, or like that I was like abusing the system. That's the whole point of networking, is that people can set you up with opportunities.
So do you have any other advice for women identifying people who want to major in STEM?
Well, my first piece of advice is go for it. I feel like STEM is just becoming more and more relevant, and I feel like what people sometimes don't realize about STEM is that it has so many overlaps. Like I have a lot of friends that used to do like biology, and then they added computer science as like a second major or a minor so they could go into things like bioinformatics and like genetic sequencing, which uses a lot of like computer science. I feel like people have a very narrow view of like what you can do with STEM, and specifically computer science, and kind of like who is a person in STEM or who is a computer scientist, realizing that it is like a really fulfilling career and there's a lot that you can do with it. And I'd say like my other big piece of advice is like be involved with like, the communities that you're part of. So join like clubs related to computer science, join your woman in computer science, or if you are a part of kind of like a different underrepresented group, like see if like something like that exists. Like at Maryland we have CS Latinos, and we have like Code Black, which is for kind of underrepresented like racial identities within STEM, and those I've heard are also like really good resources. So if you have like issues, or a lot of times they also host things like tutorings and like socials, stuff that just get you more involved both like socially and academically, and it can like connect you with really cool opportunities. Like I know people that have gone to like special like diversity conferences in computing, and they're able to be sponsored by those clubs or organizations where you get to meet like professionals and like companies who also care about like diversity and opportunity and creating parity within the STEM fields.
This is the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like this video because we had Rachel in it today, and we'll never see each other again because I'm going back to school.
I was gonna go visit you in the Bay Area.
Oh, really?
Wait,
no, yeah, I'll come visit you.
And I'll come visit you.
Okay,
Seattle travel vlog.
Yeah, in 2020. Catch us on the flip side. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you all next time.
And comment if you have any advice for women in STEM. If you have any questions for me, I'll answer them in the comments.
Goodbye.
Bye.